So now, the few things we want to learn here would now be how do we use PowerPoint to create compelling or captivating slides that can get our users engaged. So to do that, let us begin with the basic, the preliminaries. The first thing we want to look at is that once you get to Microsoft PowerPoint, just like every other Microsoft Office suite, this is the screen that you will be presented with, this particular one we are having here. But suffice to say also that the screen might just be an empty screen, like it doesn't have any particular scene, just like this. It might just be an empty screen like this. So it is you that will now, based on what you are working on or what you are creating, choose a screen that is appealing to you. So in my own case, I am going to choose that particular theme that we have actually selected from the beginning, which is, I think, this one. Now, the thing you need to do is, or one thing you need to note here is that whether the slide already has title or not, it doesn't matter. Whether the slide has title or not, it doesn't matter. So for example, let me return back to the default design, which is this, and I'm going to put a title here. Music is good, or let's say which is good. Which is good. Like this. Now this is the title we have put here. And looking at this title, this is just a sans serif title. It's so bare, so simple, and doesn't have any detail. But now let's look at what design template is going to do for us. Let's go ahead, or let's add a subtitle. This is a sample test with no author. Can you hear me now? Okay. No, I'm using the microphone. The rain is pouring seriously, so yeah, the rain is pouring seriously. Alright, so now we have said this is a sample test with no author. Now, looking at this, nobody will be interested to look at my screen twice because, of course, there is nothing here to catch your attention. But then, let's begin to look at what the designs will bring. So I'm probably going to start with this and look at what the design changes to. So it's giving me the title. Give me a minute, let me shut this windows. How about now? Is my voice clearer? Okay. So now we can see that I can select any design here and it will automatically be applied to the screen. But then we are actually interested in a particular design, which is this. And you see what has happened here. Now if I choose a variant, so you see that this design template or these themes does not only affect the text. It affects the text, it affects the color, and it affects even the ambience and the background. So this makes it easy for me to be able to create compelling designs. Now, another thing we should also notice here is that it also applies some few things to the animation. So nothing has happened here now for you, but this is a full screen. Let's continue. Now, because when you are creating a presentation, sometimes you would have to deal with multiple slides. And on this left hand side, this screen miniature, we only have one slide, which is like one page. So for us to get multiple page, we have to come to insert, and then we insert new slide. Go to insert, then insert new slide. But if that is a long process for you, there is actually a new slide shortcut here where we can easily click on this. Now, what happens when you click on new slide is that it is going to ask you what is the layout that you want to add. And these are the various layouts. We have title slide, which is this one we are currently using. We have title and content, which is going to give us a content at the end of the title. Then we have two contents. So let's begin with title and content, for example. I have title and content, and you can see introduction about guest speaker, like this. Now click to add text. When you click on it, we write all the things. He is a man, he lives alone, he loves to drink. And then parents a lot. Yes, he is quite intelligent. Now, this is title and subtitle. So we can add more. Let's assume I want to add more. I press Ctrl N to add another slide, and this is how I keep populating my slide. For this case, let's add a picture. So I'm going to click on these pictures, and then possibly I'm going to get this image, and then file tree analysis, like this. So this is actually all it takes to create a PowerPoint presentation. Now, it's also very important that we note that when we say we are creating presentation, this is not the only thing we can create in a PowerPoint. Maybe I will do a video collection of different kind of presentation we can create, and I will share again with you. Okay, so having looked at how you can create various presentations, different kind of slides in your presentation, we have looked at using design templates, which gives you the privilege to actually create stunning designs that you would have spent more time creating easily. For example, if I am to create this particular slide, if I'm to create using this kind of template, what it means is that I am going to spend a lot of time getting this image and getting this color blend and so on and so forth. But this design comes with Microsoft PowerPoint, and it gives us the privilege to actually use them without breaking a sweat. Let's look at what your background can do for you. Even though, yes, this particular thing, this particular design template has a background of its own, but let's look at how we can actually make our own background. So I'm going to come to format background, and this time around we have different types of fill that we can use. So I have solid fill, which can be one color. So I'm going to do, say, I'm going to change this to one color like this. You can see that the design pattern is still there. The only thing I'm doing is that I'm changing the color. And you can see that this one does not have the background color that I changed to, and this one does not have that background that I changed to. It's only this one that has that background that I'm changing to. Another type of fill we can use is gradient fill. So gradient fill would help us select multiple colors. So I'm starting from white, so let me go and start from red. So I'm going to select that section, and I'm going to choose a color. In my own color, I'm choosing red, as you can see. Then I am ending here at black. I'm going to end here on black. You see now? So I have actually done a color blend. So this is actually about 4 color stops. Four color stops. So I want this to start from here, and I want this to be here. You can add more by clicking on this, I can add another gradient stop, and let's make this aqua kind of things like this, and you can see what happens here. Now, in addition to changing this color and making this gradient stop, we can as well change the type of color we want. So let's say we are going for radial, and you can see it is coming from one side. We can go for, I think, rectangular like this, and we can come for path. In this part, we'll have to select the path we want. Then we can actually come for, let's make it linear for now. This is for gradient fill. Now, it's also very important that when you are picking these colors, we don't pick colors that will be overtly dramatic. So, you know, people have different reserve for color. Some persons would like to sew a cloth with yellow and black and green and purple, whereas some person will just prefer to use one color. So we have to be considerate of those kind of persons in our audience. But again, this is not a class to teach you how to create presentation, right? This class is basically to see how we can use PowerPoint to express what we are actually bearing in mind. Then another one is picture or texture fill. We can use, so here we'll have to select the picture. So I have some bunch of pictures, screenshots that I've actually taken. I don't know which one is correct here. Okay, so I'm just going to take this. Okay, so this is a picture, and it is, okay, so this is a picture, and because it is having a white background, I need to change the color of my text to maybe another background color or whatever it is, but that's fine. Let's get rid of this, and let's get a picture that is darker. I'm going to get a picture that is darker. I don't know. Okay. So any picture at all that you want to use, we can use the pictures to actually change the background, and then we'll still come down to these textures and some of these things here, because they are generic. Whether you are using picture background or you are using solid fill or you are using gradient fill, all these features, all these capabilities are the same for all of them. So we're going to go to pattern fill, for example, and let's look at some patterns that we can use. So this is one pattern. We can change the color, so I'm going to change this color from black to somewhat of this green, and so on and so forth. The most important thing is that it depends on you, the person who is creating, to decide the kind of pattern you are looking for. But let's come back to pictures, and let's see what we can do with this manipulation or manipulative tools. So I'm going to select a very sensitive, let me just select a very sensitive object. So as you can see, we have this image as the background of this slide. We can choose transparent. We can choose to increase the transparency of this to enable us accommodate some other things. So we don't particularly display some details that might be very sensitive. So the image is still there, but it is not very, very transparent. That is one. Now we can move the picture. As you can see on this side, the image of this guy is partly showing, but let's assume that I don't want the image to show at all. I can begin to increase the offset on my left. Reduce the offset on my left. So you see, it moves the image off the record. All right. Now let's assume also that I don't want. Let's assume also that there is something I want to do again. I can do all those using the offsets of my background property. Please also notice that all these things I did now, I only did them on slide number 2, not on slide number 3, because slide number 3 is not inheriting anything from it. Now, when we now come to slide number 2, we have these 2 buttons at the bottom of the format background. The first button is to apply to all, and you see that all these things that we have done will be applied to the 3 slides, as you can see the effect on this side. Number 1 slide already have it, number 2 slide is having it, and number 3 slide is also having it. So that is what apply to all will do. It will apply whatever background you have chosen, it will apply it to all the slides in your presentation. But if we don't want that to happen, we are going to undo this application. So we just do Ctrl Z, it undo, or it actually undoes this application of this background. Then, now let's assume that after playing around with this background is not worth our time. We want to get rid of it. We can simply reset the background. Then it returns us to the original thing that we are supposed to be using. So that is that about the background format. Specifically on the background. Now, this feature that we have done here now can be, like I said, applied to all of the slides, and we can choose to apply it to just one of the slides. That is about background. Now, a question might want to come that what is the use case of selecting a theme and then selecting a background again? Why can't we just use a theme and forget about the background, or use a background and forget about the theme? Now, the answer to such question is that a theme does not change the background alone. When you select a theme in Microsoft PowerPoint, it doesn't change just the background alone. It changes both the background, the accent color, and the font sizes. Now let's look at it here. When I come to this, let's assume that I am actually selecting a particular background that has been selected. Now you can see the color variant here now. So we have selected, let's go back to this. Okay, now we are back to this particular presentation. Now, currently we are using red and on gray as our color theme. So I come to this arrow here, which is more of the customization, and I choose color. Now let's begin to look at the various color variants that we have. You can see what PowerPoint is doing. PowerPoint gives us the privilege to select an accent that resonates with us based on what we are creating. Which most of the time, I may not be good enough to be able to select all these colors offhand. So this is what design teams will do for us. It will give us the privilege of selecting a color theme that matches with what we are building. In addition to the color, you can see that the font, you can see the different font that it is actually recommended, so you choose. Another pattern is for these effects, which we are going to talk about when we come to transition. And the last thing there is the background style. You see how the background looks like. These are the various backgrounds we can use. And good thing is that for each of these backgrounds we are selecting, you will still see that the text and the background, the contrast is so professionally made that you will not say that, oh, because I have chosen black background already, it is going to, okay, this one is going to affect the color anyway. So you see that the variant is so straightforward that it is only maybe 1 out of 10 that can actually affect what we are doing. So let's say I'm choosing this, and we are still having a very good presentation to begin with. So these are various patterns at which we can create Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. Just for a recap, we have looked at creating a presentation, we have looked at design templates, these design themes. We have also looked at the variants. We have looked at the formats. And this slide size is if you want to print, really. If you now want to print, this is widescreen, which is going to be for screen, and this is standard if you're actually considering to print. And you can see what it's going to look like, but we don't need this. Then we have actually looked at how do you add more slides to your presentation. So even if your presentation is going to be 20 pages, you are going to start with one slide rather, not pages. Even if your presentation is going to have 20 slides, you are still going to start with one slide. Then when you start with one slide, you can now begin to populate more slides based on what you are working on. So we have said that to get more slides, you come to Insert and you click on New Slide, or you go to Home and you click on this New Slide, or you simply press Ctrl and N. Press Ctrl plus N. So what happens is that it inserted a new slide immediately after slide number 1. Whereas what I wanted to do was to insert the slide after slide number 3. So two things I can do here is to select the slide and press my delete to delete the slide, or I can just click on the slide and drag it to where I want it to be. It is as easy as that. So when I click on any particular slide, I can drag the slide to any place I want the slide to be, and the slide will be there. So the order has now changed to slide number 1, slide number 2, slide number 3, and slide number 4. But here I want this slide to be number 2, so I return it back here. So the order is now slide number 1 and slide number 2. So this screen is very important to help us navigate the slides that we are working on. And then finally we can use this format background to change the background or the pattern at which we want our background to look like. So this is where I will stop for this afternoon.